Hello, everyone. This is Hongya Wu Isaac again. And today I will be talking about a pretty relevant issue in regarding to community interpreting. Um, it's about safety and security. How, as interpreters in Australia setting, should actually know and should pay attention, what to pay attention about um, in what to do and how to avoid and what to be prepared for ensuring your security and safety while doing a job or a task in a community interpreting setting. So I will share my experience with talking about job setting, job location, so different location based advice. So um, give you a quick overview. I'll be talking about places from the easiest to, from what I think is the easiest to maintain safety and security to what I think is the most, or rather more difficult settings where security and safety may need to, you know, to be aware of. You need to have this awareness to ensure that you're safe and secure. So let's get started. Now, first of all, I would like to talk about office. So office, including business negotiation settings and most commonly seen as lawyer's office. I think this kind of setting is the easiest, or I would say the least worrying um, settings in regarding to safety and security, because most of these buildings are in the CBD or in a rather a business hub of any suburbs. So these places are usually are high rise professional office buildings where they usually have security guards. They have they have security gates, and people who are going to this office place are either there to work or those are professional people. The chances of getting into a dangerous or a insecure situation is rather low, given that both you and most of your clients, um, notably the English-speaking clients, they actually all been through all the fire drills, security trainings, security message. They actually know all this stuff, so they know what to do. And in a lawyer's office, for example, or an accountant office, they usually only have a limited number of people. Their staffs, the number of staffs are limited, the number of clients are limited, and very specific. So these people are not from all over the place. It's unlike those who live in the commission housing, which I will be mentioning later in this video. People going to there are rather limited. The scope of background is rather limited, so it's rather I would say the safest place to go. The chance of having a security or a safety matter is rather low in an office setting. So when you're interpreting for a lawyers or an accountant or a business negotiation, you sort of expect that everybody knows each other. Everyone's coming for a very specific purpose. So I would say these are the most easy part to the most easy setting in terms of security and safety. So the next, I would say the second easiest or second safest place, or sometimes people may say is even the safest environment of interpreting and translating setting is they are the courts and tribunals. Courts and tribunals usually have a specific building, and this building is entirely, almost always had security guards. They always had a reception. They always had professionally trained security guards there, who will stand right in front of the court and they will do the metal check. They will do all the checkup of your bag. They will search your body. So any person who enters into a court or a tribunal, usually they have to go through a lot of screening. And given that now we are under a pandemic, the problem for this in comparison to an office setting is that there are many people who are going in and out of these premises, and you don't know where they're from. They could They can be from anywhere in the city. They can be any background. They can be some criminals. They can be witnesses. They can be someone who's just a lay person, a audience, someone who just want to go into a courtroom or a tribunal as a public or part of the public community who wants to observe an observer. So these, despite the fact that the level of criminality or criminal activities that may occur in a court setting is almost next to zero. However, the accessibility of these settings to the public is still quite high. It's quite easy. So now, of course, it's different. We are in a pandemic, so the courts are either closed, switch to video conferencing, or they will have a more strict control and restriction for those who can enter the court buildings. But usually, people who are going to the court, it could be very dodgy. It can be from all sort of people, all sort of backgrounds, and there are families or even friends and mates of accused or potential criminal who may go into court. But the likeliness of them causing a security or safety issue is rather small, because they are already in a legal system. They don't want to caught red-handed right at a court where they're doing something dodgy or criminal. So I think this is the second most safest setting for an interpreter. For going there, all you have to do is obey instruction. So when you get into a court case, you just if they try to search the security guard is searching your body, then you just let yourself be cooperative. Finish the body search. Finish you have to scan through all your bags and belongings, done the scanning, and then you walk in. It's basically it. So just follow instructions. People there, security guard, staffs, receptionists, these people, they are well trained, periodically trained. So should any emergency happens, they actually let you know what to do. And so I've been in this industry for approximately 5 years now. I haven't been into any situation where I feel unsafe or in danger in any courts throughout Melbourne so far. So it should be all right. Look, the next setting I would like to talk about is more intimate. These are clinics and hospitals. So clinics and hospitals, they are, as you say, these are medical settings. Most people there are a lot of people going there, people from different backgrounds, people from all parts of Melbourne might go into a hospital or a clinic for a specific reason, for a specific condition. And if you go into a public hospital, the problem for this one is there are a lot of public access to it. People are going there from everywhere, and with any disease, many of them infectious disease. And what I find about hospitals in Melbourne here is that I really, maybe it's due to my Asian or Chinese background, that we think hospitals generally, they actually take security and safety pretty lightly. They don't really put that much attention into this security and safety, because you don't see a security guard in most of the hospitals is accessible for anyone from the public. And when you get into there, I've been talking about this over and over again. Hospital, they do not encourage wearing of a mask for forever until very recently. When this pandemic first happened, I actually heard a lot of stories from my colleagues where they, out of their own concern of their own safety and the safety of others, they put on a face mask. But the hospital's policy was saying that we don't know where you get your mask from. We don't know how long you had your mask on. We don't know where have you been before you put on the mask. So they've actually asked us to take off our mask for the sake of their compliances, that any outsiders are not allowed to put on a mask. So this is something that is become concerning, especially given that in Australia, And nowadays, the medical advice is that we should stop putting on face mask for our safety. Before was that if you're not sick, if you don't have a symptom, you shouldn't be putting on your mask. So as an interpreter, when you walk into a hospital, if you're putting on a mask for your own safety, because you don't know who might get in touch with or might contact with, that people there, especially the receptionist, the nurse, they just immediately thinks that you had a condition, you are sick, and you shouldn't be there. So if you're sick, you should stay home. But I'm not sick. All I am doing is trying to protect myself from catching COVID-19. Look, then if that's the case, then there is a almost unnegotiable conflict here. One side, you try to protect yourself. On the other side, the hospital are saying that we don't trust you. We don't trust your mask. And then if you go and say, okay, you don't trust my mask, I can put it away. So where's your mask? Can I have a mask from you? And they say no, because we have to reserve all this mask for those who really need it. Those who are extremely vulnerable, those who are really sick. So they wouldn't give it to you. But at the same time, when you had your own mask on, they will question you. They will be concerning about where you got your mask from. Are they safe? How long have you had it? So this is something this is a topic of controversies these days. And ever since March, when the COVID-19 matter actually reached Australia, my colleagues and I were, we've been talking about having our own face mask multiple times. And now it is up to this month, July, 4 months into this whole, situation where hospitals and health experts actually began to admit that, we should put on a mask if there is, a problem with social distancing. And Vic Roads, the place where they do registrations and car drive tests, where social distancing is entirely impossible because there are 3 to 4 people in a car drive test, that interpreters and instructors, vigor officers, and test participants, they all had to put on the mask. So this is a contradiction to what we've been told by health experts and hospitals, where you shouldn't be putting on your mask. You shouldn't be having any personal protection equipment or PPE. But now safety it becomes a different tone. They switch 180-degree around, saying that okay, if you don't feel safe, if you think for your own safety, for your own security, you should put on your mask. So now what I'm saying is, for hospital and clinic and sometimes home visit in high-rise building, especially if it is a public housing building. If you're from Melbourne, you know that public housing blocks and buildings in North Melbourne, in Flemington, those places, they are infected with corona, the COVID-19. Now, and when you're going there, from the news that we heard, is that even people who are working there 24/7, those security guard, those police officers, those policemen there, they were not provided with a heavy protection. They don't have a face mask. They don't have a face shield. They might not even have their gloves ready. But it is entirely up to us, you and I, as an interpreter, to prepare ourselves. So you can always choose not choose not to go to any of this hotspot of COVID, which is what I'm doing now. But if you do go, it is highly, advisable that you put on a glove, put on a face mask. If you have a face shield, that would be great. Put on a goggle or glasses, at least. Put on a hat, put on whatsoever that it makes you feel extra safe. And when you go home, when you leave the premise, always sanitize your hand. Use your hand sanitizer. Wash your hand with soap. Wash your clothes once you get home, separately if possible, and take a shower. Do whatever. Do all the precautionary measure. and do all the cleaning and hand hygiene exercises as required or as advised by a lot of health experts. And these things have been happening ever since before this whole COVID thing happened, where I've been to what I said is the TB, tuberculosis clinic, and you could hear the doctor keep saying that, oh, you were previously exposed to COVID or exposed to TB, but you didn't know, so you have some scratches on your lung. And according to what the doctor said, it doesn't have much of the impact, but it's had an effect on you without you knowing it. So I've been to a TB clinic, a TB ward where someone was diagnosed with TB, and I was not provided with a mask, with nothing whatsoever. So actually, I stopped going to places like this recently. So as a community interpreter, I will highly recommend those who just got into this industry to use common sense, to really put on that extra layer of protection to yourself if you're going to a hospital scenarios. Wash your hand as often as you can. Have a small bottle of hand sanitizer ready. Put on the mask if you think it's necessary. Reject any job offer if you don't feel well, if you don't feel comfortable of going. Recently, I got an offer from my agency in regarding to going to one of those building blocks near, I think it's in Flemington, where this whole blocks of building is now still under forced mandatory quarantine. So I was offered this job. From my perspective, for my safety, I will probably ask for. I would think that it's better to do it through telephone or video interpreting. But if we are, engaged as an interpreter to go into there, from what I know, the personal protective equipment provided was actually next to nothing. Now, they won't give you a mask. They'll just tell you something. They will give you an instruction, but you won't have all this top to toe protection. Maybe a shoe cover or another layer of apron or a goggle or a face mask. Those things are not available. So it is entirely up to you for your own. You have to be responsible to yourself and to your own family. So safety is really important. Eventually, you can assume that people in public service providers and your customer, such as hospitals and clinics or office building, they try their best to provide you with a safe and secure environment according to the law. But at the end of the day, there's no silver bullet. Eventually, you have to be responsible for your own safety and your own security. Now, talking about security, I would like to go into the next setting, which is police setting. So police setting is, I think, it's the least dangerous one, in my opinion, where you're surrounded by a whole bunch of police officers, and access into the police station is they always had an access card. They always have security door. Everything is just so secured, where you can't even break the glasses. The glasses in the police station, in the foyer, those are all bulletproof, some of them, and it's very strong glasses. And to get into the police station, there's only one way, okay, which is through the security gate or the security door. If without an access card, you can't get in. So the chance of having a so-called bad guys or criminals or terrorists, unless it's a full-scale terrorist attack, which never happened in Australia, luckily. So besides that, you can pretty much feel safe in this scenario. So when you are in a police station interpreting, you will be always required to wait in the foyer, and then you have to wait until the policemen who actually engage your service to escort you into the police station. And only that policeman, that sergeant or that constable had the access card. So once they swipe the card, they can take you into whichsoever room, an interview room or a cell within the police station to interpret. And usually when the inmate or the suspect who either who's either going through an interview or a body search or registration of their personal item. Usually there are at least two policemen right next to you. They all had their gun on. I'm not sure whether they are loaded, but they had their gun on. They two big policemen or policewomen is right next to you, standing right next to you, and it's pretty safe. Everywhere else are locked up, and you and the suspect or your in some case the victim is with the policeman, and it's pretty safe. There's no concern about police safety, because of course at the end of the day, even if you're in your home, danger may happen, and once a dangerous situation occurs at your home, the first thing you're thinking about is call 000 or contact your nearest police station. And in the police station is where all those people who try to save you actually work. So well, on the sidetrack, you heard a lot of comment about defunding the police and stuff. From an interpreter's point of view, it's completely unnecessary and irresponsible, because we've seen that many crimes in the society as a minority. My ethnic background, Chinese, we Chinese as a ethnic Chinese as a minority, they've been through a lot of crimes in especially in certain suburbs. I used to live in the western suburbs, and the burglary, the incident of burglary is just a lot. Like once every month, I received a telephone interpreting or an on-site interpreting request for victims of crime. Someone who might be bashed on the street, their home get broken in, or their valuables being stolen, and so these are very important. So proper funding for police is so important for our safety, not only for our safety, but also for those who are crying for defunding the police, and even for the safety of lawbreakers. Some of them, those lawbreakers, those people who simply contemptuous about the laws, and they need protection as well. By having a police force around you is actually, that's the only thing that could guarantee this protection. And as an interpreter, once you're in a police station, you rely entirely on the protection of the policemen. And luckily in Melbourne, in Victoria, Australia, everything is going all right. And now I think the safest place is in the police station. And my advice when you go to a police station is that, again, now it's in the COVID era, so you should, of course, do all your hand hygienes and put on your mask. But once you get in, security shouldn't be an issue. Just that sometimes the questioning, the interrogation or the statement may take a long while. So you don't know whether this person under question had any conditions or COVID. But the police will ask, do you have such fever, coughing, soreness, all kind of thing. But you don't know whether this person under interview is still in his or her incubation period. So you don't know that. So that's the time where you should probably politely ask the policeman, asking that, sir, can I have my mask on? Madam, can I make sure that I'm sitting a little bit further away from the person if he or she is showing some minimal symptoms. So you need to be aware of this. Police station, although they don't have security matter, but the proximity between you, the policeman, and the interviewee or the inmate is rather close, because sometimes they even have to have the camera that in the middle of the room to capture everyone. Well, sometimes beside myself, the interpreter, in the room, so that everything is documented. So this close proximity could pose an health hazard potentially, right? That so I will highly recommend that try to keep a distance from everyone, put on a mask if you can, and also try to when you arrive in the police station, try to get to the receptionist get close to the counter as possible, where someone who they have a see-through glass, uh, if you look into the see-through glass, you couldn't see what's behind, but they could actually see you. So try to make yourself visible in the police station, because could be someone dodgy might just come in and they might hurt you. So this could be a matter that you need to be aware of. Now let's move on to home visit. Home visit again, it's not quite dangerous actually in the home of your clients. Usually people who invite you to their home to interpret, they of course won't make a mess out of their own home. It's just that some places where it's close to a public housing or is within the public housing block, such as the Flemington House block or the North Melbourne public housing that I've used to visit and interpret for the resident in it. People live with your client who are living in your proximity. Is those people are rather dodgy, or they could be drug addicts and they can pose a danger to you. So I've actually got held on, stopped by I would say a drug addict, and was asking for money from me when I was interpreting for a client who lives in the commission housing in Brunswick. So that actually happened. I had to run away. You just have to be alert, so that when you see a potential factors of danger that might pop up around the home that you go with your professional, you just have to be alert. Always pay attention to people around you. And if you see someone's dodgy, that looks a little bit dangerous, that is working towards you, always choose to run away. Don't jeopardize yourself. Don't take chances. Turn around, and then always arrive on time, so that if there's any issue, always call your agency. Let them know where you are. Let them know what the situation is. Call for help. At least you have to contact your agency should any danger happen. I was hit by a bike once, a pushing bike, not a motorbike. So I reported this immediately to my agency because it was during my work hours. So I reported that your agency cares about your safety. Actually, they care about your health and your well-being, and of course, they don't want to be responsible for what's happening to you. So always report the matter. If you can no longer continue your assignment, always let your agency know. They would understand if you feel you're in a grave danger or you are actually physically hurt, or if you don't feel safe. You can always report this to your agency. And of course, if you get into the home of your client, if you spot any problems, there may be some slippery floor or something might fall off, you can always notify your other client, the English speaking client, the professional, about this, and they will know what to do. They all had a procedure, and you can always notify your agencies. If you don't feel safe, always be firm. Don't hesitate to report, and don't hesitate to refuse if you don't feel safe. Okay, although we don't get paid consistently as a community interpreter, but it is our right. It is also ethical under the OSINT code of conduct and professional conduct and ethic, that we have to raise any hazard or potential hazard to ourselves and to the people around us if necessary. So it is entirely okay for you to say it is not okay. I don't want to continue because of certain dangerous situation. It is definitely okay for you to refuse a job. If you don't know whether you will be given a mask by interpreting for a COVID infected building block, you can say no. If you think you're going to a home visit and is in a dodgy area, and you think you've been through a few incidents around that area, it's okay to say no. But if once you say yes, always keep in touch with your agencies and always communicate your feelings to the other professional, and you can always leave if necessary. So now it important as an interpreter and the clients of interpreting service to know that safety is actually always goes first, because of course our major goal is to bridge a communication gap, but communication gap can be only be successfully and efficiently bridged if a safe environment is given. So, as an interpreter, we actually really need this kind of reassurance that we will have. If we need it, we can just say, if we don't feel safe of COVID, we should have our mask we put on. We should feel safe by having prior training and prior instruction given to us about if you are getting into this, this clinic, what should you do? What can you do? What shouldn't you do? What if certain situation or certain uh, emergencies happens, what should you do about it? So you have to first judge yourself. Secondly, ask for help if required. Thirdly, always keep yourself alert. If there is a problem, always report to the relevant body, or don't force yourself to stay. You can always leave if necessary. So that's basically everything I would like to share about safety and security um, aspect of working as a community interpreter. So if you have any questions, if you want me to make a video on more specific topic, feel free to comment, and I look forward to see you in the future. Okay, and lastly, stay safe. Stay at home if necessary, and if you have any minor symptoms, get yourself tested and protect your families and friends. Okay, God bless you.